OpenAI just stepped into erotica. This is not to be confused with adult content, but rather emotional simulation.
Welcome to the demonstration.
I think that this one move might redefine relationships as we know them. It will redefine dating apps. It's going to redefine loneliness. And heaven knows we're going through the loneliness epidemic at the moment. But erotica is nothing new. People have had virtual romantic experiences for a very long time. It's just that it's never been at a level where the artificial intelligence is at a level that is this advanced. And in this episode, I want to talk about what's changed technically. I want to talk about companionship versus erotica versus the explicit. I want to talk about relationships and its impact, the upsides, the downsides, and the risks. I want to talk about the industry map, the opportunity, where the money flows are, what are builders going to do, what are developers going to do, and then we're going to close off with ethics and guardrails. Okay, so welcome to the Winners Win podcast. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Ted Koka. Let's jump into it and let's talk about what's changed technically. The first thing that's changed technically, and I think that there are four things that are really driving this, is that you have natural emotive voices that feel like they are alive, basically. If you've played with the OpenAI chat or any other these platforms, voice has evolved in an incredible way. So I think that's the first thing that enables this in a different way. The second thing is long-term memory. Your AI remembers preferences, your boundaries, your history, your tastes, and whatever you put into the dialogue context. It's a very strange thing because relationships naturally are the imperfection of relationships, and the human experience is sometimes what makes it what it is. What happens when that margin of error goes away, especially in personal and romantic relationships? So that's something that's going to be interesting. The third thing that has changed is character systems, just the ability to build consistent personas and what we might call narrative arcs is going to be something that is very fascinating and interesting to see. And then the fourth thing is agents, autonomous, call them flows that react and escalate scenes in a safe way. What agents are going to do really is enable romantic simulation. And this is where I think many developers are going. In essence, AI is learning to love. Now, when it comes to companionship versus erotica versus the explicit, I'm going to keep this very top line so that I don't violate any of the community rules by going too in depth. But I think that there's just a spectrum, and that spectrum can be sort of defined as a level one, a level two, and a level three. I think that OpenAI and builders or entrepreneurs who want to play in a public space will be on level one and two, and let me define that. I think that level one is companionship. On this level, you are looking at emotional support, role play, coaching, and attachment. On level two, you're looking at this romantic slash fantasy space where I think the build out is going to be flirting, storytelling, suggestive scenarios, etc. Level three is I think is a hard no in many platforms or on many platforms and jurisdictions. And entrepreneurs are going to cluster around level one and two, which is companionship and then romantic and fantasy offerings. And the thing to remember is that one, I think, again, entrepreneurs are going to avoid level three because you're going to navigate a lot of legal landmines whilst trying to serve real demand. And that's the critical question. Why launch erotica? It's because the demand is for connection, is for human connection, but really that's what they're solving. This is how I think it's going to affect relationships. Sort of look at the positives and the negatives, if there is such a thing. But let's play it out, and let's look at what the upsides are. And I know that when you first hear AI, erotica, relationships, the first thing you want to do is just think about the worst case scenario and what that means for humans. But here are what I think at least are potential upsides. It's going to allow a lot of people to practice communication. It's going to reduce loneliness. We're going through it, I think it's very well publicized that we're going through a loneliness epidemic. Whether you agree with the fact that it's going to reduce loneliness or not, I think this is something that it probably does. It's going to have couples mode coaching. There's going to be a therapeutic narrative somewhere here, perhaps with or without professional oversight. And I think that if you're doing counseling, you're probably doing it without a professional or a stranger sitting on a couch, or you're doing it with a professional sitting on a couch. And then I think that these are the risks that would define this era, which is then this addictive parasocial loops. I want to talk about parasocial as a concept because I didn't know what it was until I started doing some research for this episode. I think that the algorithmic perfection is going to be problematic, and it's going to harm real world intimacy. Again, relationships and the human connection is just not perfect. It's not something that works all the time in the way that you like it, and your partner doesn't always remember everything. But this changes that. I think there's also going to be boundary erosion, which is problematic. I think minor safety is problematic, and then consent and deep fakes are also a thing. If there's a take at all, it would be, and to be honest, I don't really have a take on whether I would use it or not just yet. I think you always, at least at a professional level, I recommend that people integrate AI so that they can, become a lot more productive, etc. But in this case, I think you need to use AI like a mirror. You should use it to grow, whether you want to grow emotionally, and become a better communicator in your relationships. The challenge is that it feels like a slippery slope. There are so many pathways that you begin to explore. So use it to grow, not to replace. And then I want to talk about this parasocial thing, and I'm just going to read the definition I found. The adjective parasocial refers to a relationship that is one-sided, where one person, often a viewer, a fan, a follower, invests emotional energy, time, or interest in another person, often a media personality, a celebrity, an influencer, who is largely unaware of them. All right, so that's a Cambridge definition. In psychology and communication, a parasocial interaction is when a media user feels like they're interacting with a media persona, even though the relationship is virtual or entirely mediated, and there's no real reciprocity. I think that's the biggest drop, and that's the biggest hole in this whole thing. Over time, these can become parasocial relationships, and I think that's a big thing. Now let's talk about the opportunity, and the opportunity because one, this is a podcast that looks at a builder's mindset, that looks at the opportunity from an AI point of view, looks at entrepreneurship. And why is OpenAI going after this? I think primarily because they have 800 million users on ChatGPT per week. That is 10% of the planet using ChatGPT every week. That's a powerful commercial proposition for anyone who's sitting there. So what do I think the business opportunities look like? I think there's definitely going to be many new verticals. There's going to be companion as a service. This is a subscription chatbot or voice. These are also ideas for entrepreneurs who want to go into this space, developers, marketers, etc. So companion as a service, which is a subscription chat or a voice. Erotic audio, story generation with strict filters and IDs. You're going to have synthetic influences. Again, that parasocial experience, paid DMs with fan clubs, couples tools, empathy coaching, dialogue simulators. I think that's a lot more on the positive side, but there's definitely space for it. And then I think from a wellness point of view, attachment journaling is also a crucial thing. The business models are going to be generally subscriptions or tokens, or sort of time-based things like dates, where someone's going to have, upsells for custom voices, characters, and then another thing I see is what you might call a private memory vault. The mode for this is going to be what separates the winners from the losers, and how you build a mode in AI and call it erotica is probably trust and safety, as well as compliance, uh, and then culture specific localization, which I'll talk to in a bit. And then, killer voice personalities, as it were. I think we're going to get to a point where either humans are going to start, licensing their likeness and allowing, a one to many app, and that's where some licensing comes to it. Let's dig a little bit deeper on the whole builder's playbook and what I think people are going to build from those initial ideas. Here are, I think, let me define them as 8 ideas that I thought and researched and thought it would be worth presenting. Love language coach. This is a voice companion that rehearses hard conversations. Couple mode with shared summaries. I think a consent first role play idea is also something that will emerge, where there's a scenario engine that teaches boundary setting with explicit check-ins and what you might call safe words. Pineapples comes to mind if you know Kevin Hart. Attachment journaling, daily reflections, therapist export. In that world, there's no erotic content, as it were. There's a focus on your emotional literacy, which is a very important thing, especially as you grow older and build deeper relationships with your kids, your spouse, etc. And then date rehearsals. Practice first date small talk, feedback on your tone, your pacing, etc., etc. The other idea is this erotic audio studio, which is consensual fantasy stories with cultural settings, strict age and policy compliance. The para creator, which is again the synthetic influencer that reads the patron's names, it sends personalized AI voice notes, etc., etc. And then couples check-in, weekly prompts, metrics on appreciation, boundaries, repairing conflict, and that sort of thing was also going to be a thing. And then just creator tools, something that goes from script to voice to music to cover art and then distribution on fan platforms, which are also going to involve, and all of that in one flow, and tastefully done. I do think there's an Africa specific opportunity, and that's from a Africa builders and creators lens. Localization wins in almost every vertical. Localization wins, and in this space, I think language, accents, norms, music, and storytelling heritage will give African creators or entrepreneurs a unique edge, especially because I think there's a huge export potential, but only if we lead with sort of ethics and craft. And in parting our close with this, I think that AI is definitely learning how to love, but it doesn't go there unless you build around really good ethics. And these are the things that I think are critical in order for this to be successful. This has to be age gated. There has to be 18 plus verification. There has to be no real person replicas without their consent. You need watermarking, and you need safety rails. You need hard content filters and data minimization. You need a panic stop, and you need granular boundaries that are put in place. You definitely need transparency. I love what Sora is doing, for example, where whenever you see a video, you sort of start already, you're mentally searching. When you see a video and you immediately don't believe that it's real, you're searching for the Sora watermark, and that watermark validates that this is not real. I think that's very important. And so you want that AI, not human, to be a thing that we come to accept. I think it's okay to have a world where human created content and AI created content are, explicitly distinguished. And then you're going to need community features that reduce harm, that are mindful of usage reminders. A weekly health prompt is essential. And then sort of these an opt-in human override, or coaching add-ons where you really get a human experience with that. This has been, in my view, a very interesting topic to read about. I think that the compassion, or the erotic economy, is where AI is going to learn to love, but humans again must lead with value. And I'm keen to hear, where are you on this spectrum? Are you one who's going to try these ideas and these businesses or these products? Let me know in the comments, and comment build, try, or hard pass, depending on where you are and how you see and perceive this. Like, subscribe, share with a friend, share with a builder. Again, I think it's an exciting time. No one knows what's going to happen. This is the Winners Win podcast. We out.